here for the very first time, welcome. Before I go any further, my name is Rahul George, India's premier iHypnosis life healer coach and your personal guide. Today's topic is something that I'm sure a lot of us as healers and coaches either um, we burst with energy when we think about it, or we literally do the opposite, which is we find the biggest rock and hide under it. Of course, I'm talking about money, and more importantly, money psychology. So let's dive into this topic, because um, if you're intending to do this work as a healer and a coach, whether you've just started, let's say you're in the first 6 months of your journey, or maybe you've been doing this now for, let's say, the last 2 years, or maybe for much longer, this one topic can literally change the trajectory of your life. When we talk about money psychology, there are a couple of questions that are useful to keep in mind, and I'll get to that in a moment. But before we get to that, take a moment and really, think about it. Um, when when it comes to money, does it make you smile, or does it make you feel weird and awkward? Because especially when it comes to building business as a healer and a coach, or a healer coach, as I like to think about us, um, very, very often we are sort of like our worst customers. I was having this conversation earlier today with my community. When we meet especially every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the iHypnosis Life Foundation. This program is, of course, designed to help us build a really, really strong foundation so that we can not only grow our business, but also be able to create collaborations, and to be able to help other people, help other coaches and healers as well, um, grow their business as we grow ours. And very often we tend to be our worst customers, simply because we only focus on what's the lowest, what's the cheapest we can offer our products to our customers. I say this not only from personal experience, but also from the many stories, from the many sharings that I see that happen amongst us. And I know that this is not um, only something that happens in our community. I'm sure as a healer and a coach in your own communities, whether you are currently in one or whether you've been in one, very often there is this very strange and weird relationship with money. So, as I promised before, let me get to those three very important points. Um, I'll ask them as questions, but you can make them statements for yourself. The first question is, as a healer and a coach, do you make offers to your clients, whether they are existing clients or whether they are would be, could be, maybe clients? In simple terms, when you have leads, and when leads show up into your, let's say, your community, or you have existing clients, as I said, do you make offers? And as promised, how do you make this into something that is useful for you? Turn this question into a statement, which is make offers. Of course, a big hat tip to Myron Golden, who literally created this program that he calls the Make More Offers program. As the name suggests, you're basically building your skill to be able to make more offers. The simplest way of explaining it is that if you currently maybe reach out to your clients and make an offer once, whether it's once a year, whether it's once a quarter, or maybe just once only, this is your opportunity to be able to turn things around, where you're constantly asking your clients, you're listening to your clients, whether they are new clients or whether they are existing clients, or clients as we call them, legacy clients, meaning they've been with you pretty much from the beginning. Always turn it back to this statement that you ask yourself, which is make offers or make more offers. The second question to ask yourself is to do you ask and do you talk about money openly? Right? So when you make the offer, do you ask it openly? Or instead, are you catching yourself just kind of on the side, sort of in a very shy way or a very precocious way, literally like a precocious teenager way, or like you don't want to talk about the birds and the bees. So it's like you don't really ask very overtly, you ask very covertly, you sort of just hint at it and you don't really ask openly about money. Another way of reframing this is the second statement is ask openly. So when it comes to money, ask openly or talk openly. And if you start practicing this, I can promise you, in 3 months, you'll probably message me back saying that, I just happened to see this podcast or I happened to see this reel and you said something about, ask openly. I did it and that has made all the difference. And the third question to ask yourself is, do you speak freely when it comes to money? So, one is just to ask, the second is to speak freely when it comes to money. This is something that we practice a lot in our community, where very often we make it a point, pretty much every week, to speak freely about money. This could be money psychology, this could be your relationship with money, not just now in the present, but also your earliest memories, and even when you were in your teens, even when you were in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s and your 50s and your 60s, um, like as far back as you can go, when you start to reflect on it and in the community, and that's what we do in our community, when you actually speak openly and you speak freely, more importantly, it's not just openly, but you're speaking freely, which means you're just letting whatever those thoughts were, whatever those maybe traumatic experiences when it comes to money, you're willing to openly and freely talk about it. When you do that, then you'll notice that your life will really shift, because money, as we all know, we say it quite often, money is energy, but this is your opportunity to be able to truly connect to it. And when you do this, people will start to see you differently. You yourself will start to notice that even the way you price your programs is going to change, right? And it will change. And when you talk about money with this kind of energy, people will connect to you very differently. And as a result, you'll start to notice that people want to sign up for your programs. And obviously, your top line and eventually even your bottom line will start to look a lot more and start to look a lot more healthy and start to look a lot more healthier than it has ever been. So as always, these pods are created with you in mind. My intention is, even as I and even as we as our community are growing, that you, whether you happen to be watching this video or this podcast, or if you happen to be in our community and you're participating, the intention, of course, is that you really are able to experience that shift in your own life. As always, uh, as I said, these pods are made for you. This is one way to stay connected. And if there is, maybe something that you picked up from here, do write about it, do, tag me, or share this with somebody who's probably struggling at this point when it comes to talking about money and receiving money. Having said all of that, of course, as always, remember to live your purpose. God bless. Of course, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.